Hi everyone, this is Amin Mumbani from the Race Face podcast. And today's featured guest is Annie Dube, also known as Spartan Goat Girl. She has been here last year as well and took away the second position in the Spartan World Championship in elite category. And also, she has won the third position in Spartan North American Elite Series in Ontario. And before we kickstart anything, we have a special message for you. So check this out.
Spartan is a global fitness brand with a 10 million strong community. We create transformational events, experiences, products, and content to help people, companies, and teams tear down boundaries and expand what they believe to be possible. From day one, nearly 2 decades ago, we've been champions of human transformation. We live to help people get outside, eat healthy, and develop habits that lead to a life of constant progress. With a family of brands, we push people from every corner of the globe outside their comfort zones and immerse them in a world of tough fitness and elite sports. We do this because when you can face and overcome adversity head on, your potential is limitless. This year in December, in Abu Dhabi, the land of the Gazelle, thousands of athletes and spectators will gather at the metropolis in the desert to compete for Spartan immortality. This is a unique opportunity to watch the world's best obstacle course race athletes compete for the World Championship and have your group conquer the course themselves. For Spartan World Championship ticket details and registrations to the program, see the link below, and there is also a discount code, so see the show notes below for the discount code and the registration link, and hopefully see you at Al Wadba.
Hi Annie, how are you?
Hi, good. How are you?
Good. Welcome in UAE,
Thank
and hope you are wholly prepared for the race day after tomorrow.
I know it's crazy. I can't believe it. It's like already been a year since I was here last
I
time.
know, but you are like whole year you are practicing and everything, so it's perfectly fine. We have taken Garfield Griffith also on the interview yesterday,
Okay.
so he also shared some course insights, and today I think so. My friend George is going to interview Ryan Atkins.
Okay. Nice.
So it's good that we just started this a peer-to-peer community driven. So like entire UAE people are also involved in this, and let's see how it goes.
Nice. That's awesome.
No worries. So let's start something. And so first, any thanks for the time and welcome to the land of desert. And hope you are back again over here.
Thank you. It's good to be back.
Good to be back, yeah. And hope the weather is good and everything is perfect for you.
Yeah.
Great. So just a couple of days left. Like it's first already right now, and the race is on third. So how is it feeling right now? How was your travel? What was your travel experience better than last year, or how is it good?
Yeah, I actually thought for a minute I wasn't gonna make it because my flight, I had like issues with the airline and they canceled my booking at the last minute. So that was a little bit stressful getting out here, but now that I'm here, it's all good, and I'm glad that I came a few days early just to try and relax a little bit and get some sleep because it's quite a journey from the west coast of the U.S. all the way to here. It's like more than 24 hours of traveling. So
Wow. Yeah, I went through your post actually. You came by Air France, right?
yes.
I went through your post on that. Yeah. Okay,
Yeah.
so take us back to the time when you did the very first obstacle race. Like, of course, you are a pro athlete now. So, very first obstacle race, and what was your mindset going into the very first OCR? And what was the key learning from your very first OCR? What you did, and when was it?
Yeah, my first Spartan race was back in 2018, and it was just for fun. I signed up with a couple buddies of mine who were in town visiting me from college, and we did not take it seriously whatsoever. We were kind of just like hanging out and getting through the race and laughing at each other, trying to do the obstacles and stuff. Um, but I don't know, there was something about that experience that like lit something in me where whereas my friends were kind of like falling off of the simple obstacles, monkey bars, and the rig and stuff, I kind of got through it all very easily and thought maybe that I should be doing this more because it was so fun, and it kind of came naturally to me. So I actually the next day signed up to race in the elite division, not
Wow.
knowing at all what that meant. But it was actually Steve Hammond who encouraged me to do that because I had met him that week, and he was like, I think you should give this a shot. Like, you're pretty good at it. So yeah, I did that, and did pretty well. Like, the only thing I failed in my first race was the spear throw. So that was pretty good. And then I ended up doing like a couple more races that year, but I stuck to the age group division because I wasn't really sure, like, doing some of the bigger races, how I, like, if I was competitive enough to be with the elites. So yeah, I stuck with the age group, and ended up qualifying for the World Championship as an age group athlete, and then heading to Tahoe and winning that. So that was kind of like the start of my Spartan experience, and it's actually like pretty cool to look back on and think about like just how far I've come from that moment where, I was just hanging out in the desert with my buddies in Arizona, and to now I'm like traveling across the world doing this as a pro. So yeah.
That was I wanted to ask you, that how it changed your life over time, and that you already said that now you are here in desert with your buddies. So it's really amazing that your first Spartan race you did for fun, laughing with your friends and all around, and you just missed only one obstacle, and that was spear throw. How
Yeah.
do you think? How do you think? What is the importance of spear throw in an elite category? I know I have seen a lot of, especially a lot of debates over the last year. But what is the importance of spear throw? How important this obstacle is actually?
Yeah, I go back and forth on that because, quite frankly, like the spear throw and I don't have a good relationship over the history. I've worked on it a lot. I last year improved quite a bit and was starting to hit more spears throughout my career. But ultimately, I think as much as it is such a big component of like the Spartan ethos, I think there's a place, like, I don't know, in the elite pro division. I think having a spear throw is a little bit silly in the sense that like it's not quite testing what we train for. To have a race be super close, like I feel like we've seen it a lot this year in the at least in the North American series, where there will be really close races among the men that ultimately come down to something like a spear throw and then 30 burpees, which, you know, it's kind of a bummer to see someone like winning a race and then to have that take them out at the very last minute after like being out racing for 2 hours. So yeah, as much as I think it is such a like classic part of Spartan racing, I think it really more belongs in like the open division where it's not quite as competitive as
True.
like what we're doing. Yeah.
And how is your relationship with burpees? Are they giving, are like you are doing those burpees nowadays in the races, or you have left them behind?
The only time I'm doing burpees typically are if I miss my spear throw. So kind of all comes back to that. But yeah, I think again it kind of all goes together. Like the burpees, um, it's just something that is tough to referee in like such a close competitive race that I think like when you think of Spartan race, you do think of burpees. So I understand like why it's still a part of our races, but if at the point where we're at in the sport, where it's really really competitive, races come down to seconds. Having someone doing burpees like 100 meters from the finish line just seems like a
It seems like a
buzzkill.
barrier,
I'd
yeah.
rather see like I'd rather see two guys like sprinting it out to the finish than like just standing there doing burpees. So that's my opinion on it.
That's amazing. So you have done OCR all over the world, right? You have done in each and every region, I think so. So what has been the most unique OCR event and where it was? And how did it stand for you?
Yeah, I would definitely say this race last year is the one that stands out in my mind the most as being just totally like out of this world crazy, and the landscape and being out in the middle of the dunes, like watching the sun go down as we are racing up and over these endless sand hills was pretty fantastic. I mean, I know there's a lot of people out there who say like it's not like quite the like representation of what we all train to do, which might be more of like racing out in the woods or in the mountains somewhere. But I think that the cool thing about this style of racing is that like you have to be really adaptable, and whether that means being good at racing something flat and fast to something like more like long and just grinding, like running over sand dunes. I think it tests all abilities, and I think last year's World Championship was a good example of that, where you see athletes who maybe wouldn't have won a race up, in the mountains of Tahoe at elevation, who are now podiuming at a World Championship race out in the desert at sea level. So in that way, I think it is kind of cool. I think I would say selfishly that I prefer like a certain style of racing, and that being like a longer race with like more climbing and elevation and stuff. But at the same time, I like to challenge myself, and I think coming out here and being totally out of my comfort zone is a pretty cool thing.
So you believe that World Championship last year held in Abu Dhabi, Liwa Desert, was out of the box something, and it totally challenged yourself. So how do you rate the Liwa? And of course, you are here for Al Wadba right now, this consecutive year, in the second consecutive year. So you have seen some insights of Al Wadba as well, of course, a pro athlete.
Mhm.
So how do you rate Liwa and how do you rate Wadba?
I haven't been to Wathba yet, so I can't say for sure, but I've seen like some videos and a little sneak peeks. So I would say so far it seems that I think they're going to be quite similar in some ways. I think the Marib Dune out in Liwa was something like out of this world that we won't see at this race in particular. But aside from that, it looks pretty similar. I think it's going to be, lots of sand, it's going to be hot. It's going to be like all the same things as last year, but just a shorter race. And probably most likely like all the elites will finish in the daylight, I think, versus last year. The women at least were running half of the race in the darkness, which I actually thought was pretty cool. But yeah, I think as far as like media and all of that, it makes sense for us to run while there's still light.
Yeah,
So
the night races are not happening right over there in US or in other regions.
not really an OCR, no. I think yeah, I don't know. Not that I've heard of, at least, other than the really long like World's Toughest Mudder
Of
or
course, yeah.
World Champion or Ultra World Championship. Yeah.
So have you been participated in those races as well?
No, I haven't done anything. I haven't done any of the long ones yet. Maybe someday.
Someday, maybe. So what are your thoughts on the Unbreakable Pass, which Spartan has recently launched, and how do you think it gonna work?
To be honest, I don't know too much about it, so I'm not sure how useful I'll be. But I think, as far as I know, it's like covering all of. Is it? I don't know if you know much about it, but I believe it covers all the Spartan races, Tough Mudder, and now OCRWC as
I
well.
think so. Deca is also covered in that.
Ah, okay, cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's cool because you're seeing a lot of athletes now, kind of dabbling in like multiple things as far as like the hybrid fitness and OCR and all of that. So I think that's a cool option that people will now have to kind of test their fitness in a bunch of different realms, as opposed to just choosing, okay, I'm gonna only focus on Spartan races or DECA or OCR, or whatever it is. So that's pretty cool.
So what is your expectation from this year's event? Like a new location, of course, Liwa and Vadba, different location. And I hope the camping situation is not as bad as it was last year.
Yeah.
It was a big talk and big debate. But how is your expectation from the race course? Of course, it's a world championship. So, of course, we cannot assume that it's a bit easier than last year. But what is the difference you feel, and what is your expectation?
Yeah, I'm expecting it to be, like I said, pretty similar. I as far as I can tell, it seems like the majority of the course is going to be out in the sand dunes again. But being that the elite race is now a super versus a beast, I do think that's going to change things a lot. I think people are going to go out hard, push themselves to their limits, and I think that it's going to be quite telling in terms of like strategy, because although it being a super, it's going to be like half the time to complete the course. I think the heat and the humidity and the sand are going to be huge factors that I think people might underestimate just how badly those can impact your race. And I think we're going to see a lot of athletes blow up pretty quick.
So without giving us too much information on what is your planning and what is your strategy to smash this race or this year, tell us what you have been doing differently to this year's World Championship event. Of course, it's a big event.
Yeah, I would say last year I focused a lot on training specifically like skill-wise how to run in the sand. It was a lot easier for me to do that last year because I lived close to the beach, where I could run on the beach every day, which was super helpful. This year now I'm living in a different place. I'm in the mountains now and I don't have access to that. So I've lost a little bit of that in my training, but at the same time, it's now winter where I live and we're getting snow. So I've been training in the snow and the cold, and I would say there is a little bit of crossover in terms of the way that you run in those conditions to the way that you run out here in the sand. So we'll see how that training plays out and whether it's in my favor or not. I'm not totally sure, but I do think that having just been here last year and having a feel for what it's like will play to my advantage in some ways. Yeah.
What are your thoughts on the shorter distance right now? Like Spartan is going into smaller distance now, right?
Yeah.
So what are your thoughts on that? More competition?
I'm really not sure. I think it's going to be an interesting year where, it's pretty clear that Spartan made this decision without really like testing it and without like having an idea of how the season would go, with like, maybe like saying, okay, we're gonna do, one of the style of race in this season, see how it goes, and then move forward from there. They're kind of just going all in on it, and I think it's hard to say what will happen, but I think we'll see some athletes who kind of I don't know, maybe have a different focus this year because they're more of like the endurance athlete who tends to race like longer races and stuff. So I think some people may lose interest and in that way we might lose a bit of competition. But at the same time, I'm sure that there will be new athletes who come in where they find that this format of racing, appeals to them more, or maybe like caters to their strengths more. So I don't know. I think it will be really interesting to see. To be honest, I don't love it. I think I really enjoy the current way of Spartan racing, where like you kind of have to be ready for everything, whether that be a sprint or a beast or a super, and all different types of formats and different terrain and all of that, versus like I think having a 3K race only, even if they do choose venues that are drastically different, I think it's short enough of a race where that won't play as much into how and into like who does well and who doesn't. I think it's going to be a lot of the same names across the board doing well or not doing well at all of the races. So in that sense, I think it is kind of a bummer. We're veering away from I think what makes the sport so unique, and becoming a little bit more standardized, which I get from a business stance why they're doing it, but I think as an athlete who fell in love with this sport because it was so different from anything else, it makes me sad to see parts of that go away.
Great. So you're expecting many more international athletes coming this year as well, because it's a shorter distance than last year. And I heard that VJ Jones is also going to be here, as it's a 10K super distance. So what do you feel? The competition will be tough this time?
Yeah, I think I actually think it's going to be tougher this year, I would say. I think because I don't know if it's more because the distance is shorter or more so because COVID is less prevalent now, but I think there are a lot more international athletes showing up at the elite level, which will certainly make for a more interesting race than last year, I think. And especially also because of it being a shorter distance, I think we won't see as much separation amongst the field that we did last year. So I think in terms of watching the race, it should be more exciting. But yeah.
So what is your expected finishing time for the winners, male and female athletes, this year at Al Wadba? Like for 10 kilometers World Championship, 21-kilometer beast age groups happening, open happening, and sprint also happening open. So what do you think? What could be a finishing time for a World Championship race of 10 kilometer?
That's a good question. I'm not totally sure. I want to say my time last year was around 2 hours 45 minutes.
Around, yeah.
That was a beast distance with, I think, more like bigger dunes than there will be here. So I would say it will probably be less than half of that time would be my guess. So maybe for the top women, somewhere between an hour and 15 minutes. And for the men, I would say maybe under an hour. Realistically,
Under an hour?
Maybe, yeah, I think so. I don't know. It's hard to say not knowing exactly what the course looks like, but yeah, I think it will be quite fast compared to last year. And then I think the beast course, I'd imagine will be similar to when it was in Liwa. I think it will be quite long and grinding because it seems like I haven't seen a map. I don't know if they've come out with a map yet, but from like what I've gathered of the course, the beast course will go pretty far out into the dunes. So I'd imagine it will be quite similar.
Yeah, I think the map is also out. The race map is also out a week ago. Yeah.
Okay.
So as you know, the big event is happening in UAE again for the second year, and many international might come for the very first time in the championship. So what advice you will give to them? The cultural advice, or what to look for, and what advice you should give them?
Yeah, my advice would be, especially to those racing the Beast race, I would say don't underestimate the heat, um, the sun exposure, and the sand. I know that last year, in the beginning of my race at least, it was quite warm and hot, and the sun was beating down on us, and I felt overheated quite quickly. So every water station, I was like dousing myself with water on my head, drinking some, pouring some in my back, just to try and stay as cool as possible on my skin. And I think it will be the same thing this year. It looks like the temperatures are a little bit lower this year, but for those of us from the north, we're coming from much cooler temperatures. And so we're not quite as heat acclimated right now. So I would say really, really be careful with that. Don't underestimate it. Bring more water than you would normally. And more electrolytes as well. Make sure you're like adding salts into your hydration. And then as far as culturally, I would say there's so much to see here and do and experience. Last year I spent quite a bit of time after the race traveling, and I would encourage, if people are able to, I would encourage, going and seeing some of the cultural sites like the Grand Mosque or some of the museums, whether in Abu Dhabi or Dubai. And there's lots of cool, like, other things to do. Like, you could go camel riding, go visit, like, a Bedouin encampment. You could, there's hiking, there's kayaking. The mangroves are beautiful. So definitely check out all the things while you're here. Oh, definitely visit the souks as well.
Yes, everyone knows that Annie was here quite a bit longer after the race as well,
Yes.
having in Fujairah and the mountainous areas are here, and your name itself says Mountain Goat Girl. So roaming around in the mountain, running around in the mountain after the race as well, that was
Yeah.
pretty good thing as well. So now you see lately the OCR community is witnessing the second generation of athletes as well.
Mm-hmm.
As you know, hobby calls. Also Simon Pepper's daughter over here in Dubai, she's also into that. So what's your insight on this, that how does it feel to have and see two generations together at OCR events? Because last year, like couple of years back, I know Lottie Pepper, daughter of Simon Pepper, she was in the doing OCR kids race, and now she's into age group.
Okay.
Even one more a guy who was having kid race, he has done kid race all over the world, in the world's OCR World Championship for kids as well.
Mm-hmm.
Today I saw his post lately that he is doing his first adult OCR race in age group. So
Wow.
what do you think? What's your intake on that?
I think it's amazing. I think, I haven't been in the sport long enough to like know all of the history. I think I came in after like Hobie Call had his whole era, but I've been to races where his son has been, and it's a really cool dynamic to see kind of the torch being passed to the children of like the original legends, as you call them. So yeah, that will be really cool. I'm sure it's just going to keep happening, where like the sons and daughters of some of the greats will be, doing kids races, and then I'm sure becoming like it's quite crazy to think just how good some of these kids are now in the kids races, that like will soon enough be racing in the elite category, and it's going to be really cool to see just how good they are, because none of the pros at the moment have been doing this like our whole lives. We all got into it later in life, usually like post collegiate or whatever. So we all had like a pretty steep learning curve, and these kids who have been doing it since the age of 3 will be like on a whole nother level. So I hope the sport kind of pulls off whatever the situation is they're going through right now, and we can kind of sit back and witness some of these kids become amazing elite OCR athletes later on. Yeah.
Definitely, we will witness them for sure.
Mm-hmm.
And last year, I noticed that one of our Middle East pro athlete, Ivana Kolorik, she entered in the OCR pro team, and she was, I think, so 11th position in female. So, what do you think? How can the UAE or Middle East region, what should they do to produce the world class athletes like you, Lindsay, Ryan, VJ Jones, Emma Clark, Kwesi Monroe, Ria Colwell? So, what do you think that UAE or Middle East should do to create a world champion? Or who knows that this world champion, someone can come from here?
Oh, I think totally. I think the biggest thing is just like for me, becoming great meant racing the best, and like kind of learning as I go from competing against people like Lindsay, or anyone at the top. And so I think whatever those athletes can do to be in a race with there's so many great European athletes as well. So just being like in a race on a starting line with those people, learning from them as they go, and kind of like forming a bond, I think is really what takes you to that next level. So I know that it seems like there are a lot of races now happening over here in like the Middle East and UAE, Saudi Arabia. So I think just drawing attention to those races, having people like you covering them and like talking about it and talking about the athletes, and all of that will bring more eyes on these athletes, and hopefully bring more attention to it and more competition. So yeah, I think like there's so much room for growth here, where like the American side of the sport is already so competitive. I think over here, from what I've gathered, it's just like in a younger stage, maybe where we were like 3 or 4 years ago in the US. So I think, yeah, it's just about building the community, more places to train, getting athletes together to, work on stuff, will just help elevate the sport. Yeah.
Yeah, something is happening in Dubai also in February for you, something, as you are a passionate trail runner. In February, there's an ultra marathon in Dubai, the world's longest desert ultra marathon series. It's called as Al Marmoom Ultra Marathon. And a few years ago, it was a qualifier for the Barclay Marathon as well. So any possibility that you are going to participating in that event? And like everyone knows, Annie is a passionate trail runner.
Yeah, that sounds really cool. This is the first I'm hearing of it here, but is it where is it taking place?
It's in Al Marmoom Desert in Dubai in February.
So the whole race is in the sand?
Yeah.
Or is it more like in the mountains?
It's more in the desert.
Ah, okay. Wow.
The mountains will be also like same sand dunes like Liwa maybe, but not higher than that. So something different coming up in this region as well. And few new trail runners groups also set up over here, which is giving a boost to people going on a trail runs with a group of people who are experienced. And they have recently did a trail run in Turkey, in Cappadocia.
Okay.
137 kilometers, 63 kilometers. And Ivana was the lady who did, I think, the first position in female overall in the world.
Wow. Cool.
So that's the thing. It's like a lot of things are happening over here as well.
Very cool.
How do you feel like running against these top ladies in the race? And everyone knows that you, Emma, Elisa Petrova, and Lindsay were like just behind and front, up and front, going on the whole race. How was it feeling? How was it a feeling for that?
Yeah, it was interesting last year. I felt like there was a big pack of women who kind of stuck together for a big portion in the beginning, and I actually fell off of that pack maybe like a few kilometers into the race, because I just felt like I felt like I was overworking and like getting like heat exhaustion a little bit. So yeah, I backed off, but then as the race went on, it was interesting to see how that played out. I think people blew up, and that was pretty apparent as the race went on. And for me, it was like as soon as the sun started setting and the temperature cooled off, I felt like the reverse. Like I was like suddenly had all this energy, and I was feeling great. And so that's when I kind of made my move, while other people I think had overworked early on who were now like falling back. But yeah, it was really cool to race. I had never raced Alyssa before, and she was a very, very strong competitor. I know she lives out here quite a bit, so she's kind of used to the conditions, and that was very apparent. And then, yeah, I think Emma and I were kind of like bouncing back and forth through
It was just head to head going on between you and Emma, I think so.
Yeah, exactly. So, so it was kind of like a fun battle from basically from the halfway point, until the finish. Me, Emma, and Alyssa were all kind of like pretty close to each other, and each of us were taking the lead at different points. Yeah, and then I think that once it got really dark, I kind of took that strategy of like, oh, maybe if I pull away far enough, at this point, I can maybe lose them. And so that worked for me. But yeah, there was a lot of like tactics going on, a lot of back and forth, and we don't always get that in the elite women's races. So I really enjoyed that. And I hope this year, I think it will be quite close as well, just seeing how many top people will be there. So yeah.
Like out of the whole bunch of women, Elisa Petrova came out a surprise for you guys because she has never ran in US
Right.
series. She has never ran in US series. She just ran in Russian series and European series maybe. And she was continuously, I have seen her like since last 1.5 year. She was doing other OCR challenges over here, other road runs over here, trail runs over here. So she came out of an entire new package, a surprise for you guys.
Yeah.
And I know at some point she was ahead you
Yeah.
and just close to Lindsay. And somewhere you took up the pace, and you, like same as you told, that sundown and energy came in, and you took up the spot, and the world champion is here.
Yeah. I mean, Alyssa she was tough to keep up with. She was like super aggressive, running like up the dunes. Like I think every time I would look up and see her just kind of like trucking along as if she was running normally, and I felt like I was like running through sand, like I was like dying. And so it was really impressive to see. I think, yeah, I think that she has a chance to win it all this year. I think so. It will be good to race her again and see how it goes.
Yeah, of course. You top 5, 6 people will be like again head to head with each other, and it's like a good thing to have a competitive jealousy over there, so that you can go out of your comfort zone and you can see what exactly the other person is doing.
Yeah.
And you, of course, everyone has their own strategy, their own tactics, and you need to play out something. You need to give out something to them and show out something and go against them. So that's a good thing as well. So just put some light on the OCR Dream Team. You are an OCR Dream Team member as well, right?
Yes. Yeah.
So what's OCR Dream Team actually?
Yeah. So the Dream Team is a group of women who are kind of like up and coming in the sport of OCR. Yeah, Nicole Miracle was the one who founded the team, and she recruited. So the first year I believe there was 5 athletes, and we all had like very different backgrounds. Like some of us were collegiate runners, some people were like just came into the sport without having a professional background, but I think all of us showed quite a big potential to improve. And then this year we brought on a few more members, and so it's been really cool to see. Just like I think we're also different, and we all have different strengths and different like focuses in terms of like what dynamic like within the sport we choose to focus on. But yeah, there's like a great camaraderie, and it's been really cool to have that support system within the female side of the sport, just because I think that was something that was lacking when I first joined. I didn't really know very many people, and the only women who I was really like friends with were the ones who I was racing all the time out in California, which is where I was living at the time. There wasn't really like a community per se, like amongst us as like
Okay.
like a global or even like a national level. So now we have like more of like a community, which is great. And then we each have some athletes who we mentor as well within the sport as a whole. So I think it's been really cool to see. I would love for it to become even more international, have like the same type of community grow within different regions, and have like some leaders who step up and take on some up and coming female athletes of their own. I think that'd be really cool to see. So yeah, we'll see what happens, but I have some big hopes for that.
So this OCR Dream Team has a qualification criteria, or anyone can join in, or you guys are selecting the top athletes from internationally?
Yeah, so we have an application process which I believe should be coming out in the next couple weeks, where anyone can apply. I believe right now it's still limited to North America for the Dream Team, just because we have like limited resources and all that. But I know last year in Abu Dhabi, I was speaking to some women about who were interested in like having more of a global presence, and I would love to talk to if anyone is interested in helping like grow that side of it. Feel free to reach out to me, because I think that'd be really cool. But yeah, we're open to anyone, and we read through all the applications and choose based on like who we think would fit the community the best. So
Definitely, I will be putting in the captions below, in the comments below, how to reach out to you as well. And of course, the listeners want to get in touch with you. And of course, I'll put out your details over there. Whatever I have, whatever I don't have, I will just get it from you, so that they can reach out to you and take out the details from you for OCR Dream Team, for any other things, whatever they want to know about you, they know from you, and they can get educate from you. Also, the absence of Ria Colwell and Nicole Diem.
mm-hmm.
What do you think? Is this absence creating a difference in World Championship since last 2 years? Because I don't think so that Nicole and Ria are coming this year as well.
Yeah, no, they're not coming. I definitely think, yeah, not having them has made the competition different, for sure. I would love for like all of us to be at a race together in a future time. I think it'd be really interesting to see how that plays out. But yeah, I think it's kind of the what happens when we have this big global race, where it's a lot of travel to get to. It's late in the year, which means people have had these really long, full seasons of racing. People are injured, and that's kind of just what happens. But yeah, hopefully next year, even more of the athletes could show up and make it even more competitive. That'd be great.
Definitely, they will be showing up. So all the best to you for the upcoming World Championship Super.
Thank you.
On 3rd of December. I'll see you over there as well, and hope to see you on the podium and get you back on the podcast as well.
Okay. Thank you.
All the best for you, and thank you so much for the time. Thank you so much for your amazing time, and it was really, really, really amazing talking to you
You
and conversing you over all the things.
Thank you so much. It was great chatting with you.
Thank you. Thanks. Thank you so much, Annie. See you soon.
See you. Bye.
Bye.